Okay, so I want you to picture a scene with me.
I'm ready.
It's a freezing cold night. It's November. The year is 1931. We're in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
And there's this group of men just huddled on a sidewalk, shivering, staring at this locked door.
It's a very relatable scene until you find out who these guys actually are.
Right, exactly. These are not just some random guys. This is a Ring 44.
The local magicians.
Yeah, the local magicians. Among them are, and I'm quoting here, handcuff artists and escapeologists.
Wow.
These are men who own straitjackets for, like, fun, for recreational purposes. They practice escaping from milk cans filled with water on the weekends.
And yet,
There they are.
completely defeated by a standard door lock, all because the janitor forgot to leave out the key.
The irony is just, it's perfect.
It's the ultimate irony, isn't it? The notes from the time explicitly say they were unable to open the door or windows. So all their secret knowledge, maybe lockpicks in their pockets, none of it mattered. They were just guys stuck on the sidewalk. And you know, that is the perfect way to start what we're doing today.
It really is.
Because we are basically cracking open a time capsule. We're doing a deep dive into the 1931 archives of the Linking Ring.
Which, for anyone who might not know, is the official journal for the International Brotherhood of Magicians.
The IBM, yeah. And we're not just, skimming, we're looking at this specific stack of issues from 1931 to really understand this very specific community.
And I think that date, 1931, is maybe the most important character in the whole story.
Absolutely. This is not a happy-go-lucky time in American history.
Far from it. The Great Depression is really hitting its stride. Banks are failing. Unemployment's through the roof. The Dust Bowl is kicking off. I mean, the national mood is bleak.
Incredibly bleak.
But then you open these pages,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really see despair. You're not reading about bread lines. You see this vibrant, almost aggressive enthusiasm for card tricks.
And green roosters.
And green roosters, yes.
There's a great line in the November issue that just hits this head on. The writer says, all around, despite depressions, gold standards, etc., it has not been such a bad year, magically speaking.
Magically speaking. I love that. It's like, sure, the global economy has collapsed, but my coin vanish is looking really sharp.
Well, the British magicians, they actually had a slogan, business as usual, and that whole sentiment just bled right over into the American chapters, or rings, as they call them.
It was a kind of defiance, wasn't it?
Yeah. The worse the world got, the harder they leaned into the illusion.
So let's zoom in on these people keeping that spirit alive.
Mm.
We're focusing on ring number 44, the Rhode Island chapter. And honestly, reading their meeting minutes, it feels like we found the script for a workplace sitcom.
It really does. It's very The Office, but, with top hats.
We have to talk about the cast of characters.
Yeah.
It all starts with the president, a guy named John H. Davison.
The grand old man. He's the patriarch. He's described as being full of life and wisdom, the one who keeps everyone in line. He does step down during the year, but he really sets the tone.
And then he's replaced by A. Allman,
The man with the 4 A's!
which is a fantastic stage name.
Yeah.
But the dynamic, it changes immediately. The club secretary, Everett Murphy, he's the one writing these reports. And Murphy is, he's a little spicy.
Murphy is the unsung hero of this whole archive. He has this incredibly dry, sarcastic wit. He is just not impressed by authority at all.
Not at all. He has this running joke that the new president, Allman, is like a father during show prep because
He doesn't do much work.
it's so passive-aggressive. And then later, Allman is in the hospital, which you'd think would be a serious moment.
Right.
But Murphy writes, what is our gain is the nurse's loss.
Implying he's just as annoying to the hospital staff as he is to the club.
Murphy is just fascinating to me because he documents all these little mundane failures that normally get edited out of history. Like there's this one incident with the blowers.
Oh, the handkerchief disaster, yes.
Tell us about it.
So it's a typical meeting. A magician is up there doing a routine, and right in the middle of the act, he has to stop. The whole flow is ruined. Why?
Why?
He needs to blow his nose.
A very human problem.
A very human problem. But he doesn't have a handkerchief, so he asks the audience, a room full of magicians, for one, and nobody has one. Murphy writes in the minutes, plenty of magicians, but no blowers.
The irony being that the standard prop for a magician is a silk handkerchief. They should have hundreds of them.
Exactly. They probably have 50 red silk scarves tucked up their sleeves for production tricks, but nothing to actually use. It's just, it captures the absurdity of it all perfectly.
Murphy also goes after the treasurer, Jim Rowe.
Oh, relentlessly.
Yeah.
When Jim Rowe takes over the finances, Murphy puts this, like, public service announcement in the magazine telling all the magic dealers to send their catalogs to Jim immediately because now Jim is handling the dough.
That is a sick burn. He's basically saying, this guy's about to embezzle club funds to buy magic tricks.
Or at least that the temptation's going to be a bit too much. It's that kind of banter that tells you this wasn't just some professional guild. These were friends. They felt comfortable enough to just roast each other in a national magazine.
They also go after a member named Bill Dexter. Murphy notes that the club wishes Bill would get plenty of paid bookings.
Oh, especially on meeting nights.
So brutal. We love you. Please go away.
But they did travel together. It wasn't just infighting. They had this sort of sister city thing with Ring 60 in New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Which, you have to remember, in 1931, that's a bit of a trek. Cars weren't super reliable, roads weren't great, but they were always driving back and forth for parties or contests.
Yeah, there's a mention of a contest where a guy from New Bedford, Armand Landry, came down and won, and his act,
What was it?
the torture harness, escaped.
The torture harness.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
for a casual Tuesday night get-together.
It sounds incredibly intense, but that was the shadow of Houdini. He'd only died a few years earlier, in 26. So this whole obsession with escapology, with getting out of restraints and defying death, that was still the absolute peak of cool. If you could escape from a torture harness, you were a star.
So let's get into the actual magic they were doing. We have the program from their first birthday party in March of 31. And looking at this trick list, it is very different from what you'd see on TV today.
It is. It really defines a specific era of magic we call the apparatus era.
Can you explain that?
Well, today, magic is often very organic, street magic, David Blaine, just a deck of cards or a coin. In 1931, magic was all about the box.
The box.
Beautifully painted, heavy wooden cabinetry with secret compartments and gears.
So Davison, the old president, he opens the show with something called the Blue Phantom.
A classic Thayer piece. Thayer was like the Apple or Tesla of magic builders back then. Expensive, amazing quality. The Blue Phantom is this beautiful illusion where a blue checker magically moves up and down inside a stack of yellow checkers, all covered by a metal chimney. It's slow, it's visual, and it's totally mechanical.
And he followed that up with organ pipes.
Right. 6 empty metal tubes. He shows them empty, then reaches in and just produces everything. A tablecloth, dishes,
Little lit candle.
lit candle, and a bouquet of flowers to finish it off. It's all about elegance, producing a whole tableau from nothing.
But then we get to Ingram & Co., a husband and wife team. And this is where the apparatus era just goes off the rails for me.
Yeah.
He produces 11 clocks from an empty cabinet.
11 clocks.
How and why?
The why is just volume. It's impressive to see the stage fill up with stuff, and the how, well, without giving too much away, let's just say that 1931 audiences were very forgiving of cabinets that looked maybe a little deeper than they should.
And then the large green rooster.
Ah, yes, the green rooster.
The text just says it so casually.
Yeah.
Produce a large green rooster. Because it died? This is a species of chicken I don't know about.
The archives are silent on the details, but knowing the era, it was probably died. Or maybe painted. It just highlights the sheer weirdness of the time. Livestock was everywhere. It was a cheap way to add production value. You can't afford a fancy Thayer box. You grab a chicken from the farm.
There's also a mention of a cow, the Milko illusion by Jim Rowe.
Yeah, using a cow put out by Ireland, which refers to LL Ireland, a famous magic dealer, not the country. But yeah, bringing a cow onto a stage in a local hall. The logistics alone are a nightmare.
But my favorite act on this list has to be from a guy named Gammons. He does a cooking act.
The Welsh rarebit routine. It's a classic comedy piece.
He mixes eggs, sugar, and salt into a chafing dish. And then, according to Murphy, he sets it on fire.
And Murphy makes this snide comment that he should have said, lights the alcohol lamp, but, Gammons is paying good dough for an education.
So you have this flaming mess of eggs. And then what happens?
He claps the lid on, opens it back up, and the food is gone in its place. A live pigeon.
Okay.
And tied around the pigeon's neck is a ring he borrowed from a lady in the audience.
That is incredibly high stakes.
Yeah.
You take a stranger's wedding ring, you put it near fire, and then you trust a bird to deliver it back.
It just shows that these amateurs were actually incredibly skilled. That's a professional grade routine. It involves crowd work, danger, livestock handling, sleight of hand, all of it.
And you can see trends just sweeping through the club, like viral challenges today. The big one in 31 was the needle mystery.
The East Indian needle trick. Houdini made it famous. You swallow a bunch of loose needles, then you swallow a length of thread, you drink a glass of water, then you pull the thread out of your mouth, and all the needles are threaded right onto it.
Visceral. Gross. Incredible.
And the notes say that after Bill Dexter performed it at the club, 16 other members immediately decided to add it to their acts.
16. Can you imagine the next meeting, just guy after guy choking down needles?
It just speaks to how information traveled back then. You saw a guy do it, you bought the secret, and suddenly everyone's doing it. It was the flossing dance move of 1931 magic.
But for the real diehards, the local meeting just wasn't enough. We have to talk about the pilgrimage, the IBM convention in Columbus, Ohio, June 1931.
The Mecca of magic.
The scale of this thing really surprised me. 515 members registered.
In the middle of the Great Depression, a trip to Ohio was not cheap, but they came from everywhere. 263 from Ohio, sure, but also from Texas, California, even Oslo, Norway.
And the vibe they describe in the notes? It sounds like a sleep deprivation experiment.
Insomnia was a badge of honor. There's this letter from a member named Stanley who writes about staying up until 7 a.m. He says, "A person is simply afraid to go to sleep for fear of missing something."
Because the real show wasn't on the stage.
No, it was in the hotel rooms. The hallway magic. You've got Lester Lake doing a midnight demonstration of his justly famous guillotine.
A midnight guillotine demonstration, as one does.
And then Jimmy Cater doing indetectable 3-card Monty at 3 in the morning. Just picture it. Cigar smoke, cheap hotel carpet, and 50 guys crowding around to watch a card move. It's pure obsession.
And for those who competed in the official contests, the stakes were surprisingly high.
The amateur contest. Strict rules. 10-minute time limit. If you're late, you're disqualified.
And the prizes. The grand prize was a set of 3 skeleton magic tables.
With a listed value of $75.
Okay, we need to pause on that number. $75 in 1931.
Right. The average weekly wage back then was maybe $20, $25. So this prize was worth 3 or 4 weeks of salary for an average worker.
That's like winning a prize worth $4,000 or $5,000 today for a hobby contest.
It proves that even when money was incredibly tight, the economy of magic was still flowing. People wanted the gear. They wanted the status.
And the categories they competed in, they offer a glimpse into these sort of lost arts. One of the categories was Best Chalk Talk.
I love chalk talks. You never see them anymore. It's where the performer stands at an easel with a chalkboard. They'll draw a picture, say a circle, and while telling a story, they add lines, and suddenly the circle becomes a face or a landscape. It's half storytelling, half drawing.
And someone won a floating candle for being the best at that.
It was a whole diverse variety show, best trick with liquids, best livestock trick. It wasn't all just pick a card.
But, as much fun as this all is, we do have to acknowledge the darkness at the edges. The Depression is the backdrop, but there's also this specific sadness in the archives about the toll of the craft.
You really see it in the obituaries, specifically the tribute to Theodore L. DeLand.
That's a name that might not mean much to most people, but in the magic world, he's a titan.
A giant. If you've ever used a marked deck, cards you can read from the back, you are using one of DeLand's innovations. He invented the dollar deck. He actually worked at the U.S. Mint.
Which feels like a bit of a conflict of interest for a guy inventing ways to cheat at cards.
You would think. But he was just an intricate, mechanical thinker.
But his end was tragic. The source notes, he died in a state hospital, an asylum. And the writer of the obituary, he speculates on the cause.
It's a haunting line. They write, "We have often wondered if the racking of the brain didn't result in his illness."
The racking of the brain.
Yeah. There was this belief at the time that creativity, specifically the kind of puzzle solving needed for magic, had a physical cost. That you could actually break your mind by trying to solve the impossible.
It casts a different light on those 3 a.m. sessions in Columbus, doesn't it? It's not just fun. It's a compulsion.
It is. And you see that same compulsion in how they treated their own history. Even in 1931, they were obsessed with the past. There's this whole article about collecting old magic catalogs from the 1880s.
I look back.
I think when the present is frightening, when the banks are failing, the past feels safe. They were grounding themselves in a lineage. They weren't just some unemployed guys in Rhode Island. They were the heirs to Robert Houdin and Keller.
That brings us back to the mission, really, of Ring 44. They were constantly pushing for new members.
They were. They noted that magicians in Rhode Island were scattered and that a lot of them just didn't know the ring even existed. They were desperate to find their people.
Because in 1931, if you aren't in the club, you are truly alone.
Exactly. There's no YouTube, no Reddit. If you don't get the linking ring in the mail, or you don't go to that meeting in Olneyville Square, you are just practicing the French drop in front of a mirror, completely in a void.
So the green roosters and the stale jokes and the torture harnesses, they were building a lifeboat.
A lifeboat made of plywood and secrets. It was a way to say, the world is chaotic, but in this room, for 10 minutes, I can control reality. I can make the laws of physics do what I want them to do.
And I can borrow your handkerchief.
If you have one.
Which brings us right back to that image we started with. The escape artists locked out of their own meeting room.
It really is the perfect symbol for this whole deep dive.
It is. Because no matter how skilled you are at the impossible, no matter how many clocks you can pull from a cabinet, sometimes the real world just locks the door.
Sometimes you just need a key.
But, you know, I like to think that while they were standing there on the sidewalk waiting for the janitor, they probably started doing tricks for each other.
Oh, almost certainly. Someone definitely floated a dollar bill or vanished a coin just to pass the time.
Before we go, I want to leave our listener with a thought. A provocation, really.
Let's hear it.
We live in the age of the instant reveal. If I want to know how the Blue Phantom works, I can Google it right now.
Yeah.
If I want to learn the needle mystery, there's probably a tutorial on TikTok.
True. The secret is dead.
But these magicians in 1931, they had to wait a whole month for a magazine. They had to drive hours to New Bedford just to see a trick performed. They had to wait all year for the convention to trade secrets in some hotel hallway.
It was slow, but it was deep.
So the question is, what magic, and I don't mean tricks, I mean that feeling of wonder and that shared community, what have we lost by trading all that friction for convenience?
Are we better off knowing the secret instantly? Or was the real value in the chase?
Something to think about the next time you look up a spoiler on your phone.
That's all for this deep dive into 1931. Thanks for listening.
Keep the magic alive.